About 2 or 3 years ago, I bought this machine for 30 euros second-hand from someone. It's the Kioritz machine, and there you can see what the model number is. First thing, I'm just going to take this cover off. 2 screws on this side and 1 on the other side. Now the nuts to the baffle will come off. The cover for the starter is just held on by 4 screws as well, and there it comes off. The air filter cover is just also held on by 2 screws. There's the filter. To get the carburetor off, these 2 studs have got to come out. These studs or bolts loosened, you can take them out. There's a whole lot of washers on there as well, so just don't lose those. And there's the carburetor loose. So now we just pull that off. And here is a little plastic spacer with a gasket which has fallen down. I've got to remove this heat shield. It's held on with a screw on this side and 1 on the other side. Now I've already loosened the spark plug, so I'll just take that out. Okay, now I'm going to take out these screws here which hold the cylinder head on. Okay, and here comes the big moment. You look at the top of that piston, you see there's no rings in there. It's because I bust them. The cylinder walls are actually very clean. You can't see in this light, but it's perfect. There's no lines, and you can see the piston as well. I've actually just cleaned off the blackness, and yeah, it's no scoring at all. Good condition. Now to make the piston more accessible, I'm just going to take this front cover off and disconnect this wire. Now I've got to try and get that little retaining spring out of there. Maybe pliers would be better. Now very gently I'm going to try and hit that pin out. Making a bit of progress. That's how far I'm going to take it, and then it just lifts off. That's the little bearing, which is apparently called a needle bearing. Goes inside this connecting rod. If you do take the piston out, always remember that it should have a little arrow on the top, and that points to the exhaust. There's also a little pin over there which will stop the ring from turning. One on that side there, so it's either side of the exhaust, and there's the other one. Now, just to make sure that your piston ring is right for the cylinder, take the piston ring and squeeze it a little bit and get it down quite far into the cylinder, and then get something like this socket and press it down. Must be the same width as a piston ring, and press it down until the piston ring is perfectly positioned. Now you're going to have to measure the space in between the 2 ends. Your manual should show what that gap should be, but if you don't have a manual, you can consider this formula here, where 32mm, which is the inside diameter or the bore of the cylinder, being 32mm, divided by 25.4 to get it into inches, and then take your inches times 0.005 equals 0.006. That is your minimum gap, and take that same inch number, 1.26 inches, times 0.007 equals 0.009. So that's minimum, and that's the maximum of that. And in my case, I'm using 0.006. If I put it in there, it fits perfectly. If you look at the ends of the piston ring, you will see they are not absolutely square, they're beveled. It should actually go that way around, the big part at the bottom, so that when it squeezes together, it goes on each side of the locating pin. For the most stressful moment, putting the rings in, I know for the top one I shouldn't have a problem, but now the bottom one is actually quite a long way down, and theoretically you're supposed to put one side in and then feed it all the way around, but I just have a feeling it's going to break. I put the back in first. There. It's in the top at the moment, and I need to go down to the bottom. So now I put the one side in, and then ease it around. I'm going to lift that out with my nail and just plonk it there. And it's in. Now I think the top one should be a lot easier if I just get this side in the groove right up against that little pin. And then ease it around. And that's in. Now I've just got to punch this pin back through the piston. Now I'm going to be putting the cylinder over the top of the piston. I'm using a little bit of oil, same oil that I use to mix with my fuel. And I'm just going to hold it as straight as possible. Try and slide this over the top. I have put the gasket on already. I don't want to wriggle it around too much. Oh, there we go. A lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And then before you tighten it up, just keep your hand on top of the cylinder and just turn the motor around. Make sure the piston goes up and down very easily. So now I've just put the 4 little screws in. So now it's time to put everything back together. As you can see, I've taken the petrol tank off as well, given it a good clean, and now I've just got to connect the engine to the shaft. First thing I'm going to do is just put this heat shield on the top. As you can see, I have sprayed it. Now I've got to attach the carburetor. And before I attach it to the body, I'm just going to put the throttle cable in. Always difficult to do afterwards because it's difficult to access. And finally I'll put on the air filter. Now I'm going to be putting on the exhaust. As you can see, I have cleaned it up as well. Finally, I screw on the starter. Now I'm just going to connect the spark plug and see if it works.